Welcome back to the WTF Podcast. My name is Molly Smith, and I'm on a mission to equip 1 million people with the tools to recognize when they're in the funk, but more importantly, how to pivot out of it. By tuning in today, you've joined me on this mission, and I'm so grateful that you are here. Today, we're talking about the funk that so many high-achieving people don't even realize that they're in. The funk that shows up when you're gripping everything with both hands, trying to control every outcome, every emotion, and every moving piece, because letting go feels too risky. For most of her life, my guest was known as the I've got it girl, the one who handled it all, never asked for help, and stayed in survival mode long after it stopped serving her. And then life handed Jackie a year that made control impossible, a year that cracked her open and forced her into a level of surrender she never expected and never wanted, but ultimately changed her from the inside out. Jackie Cote is a coach, international speaker, best-selling author, and full-time RV adventurer who now helps women build lives rooted in purpose, joy, and real freedom, not the kind you can micromanage into existence. If you've ever held too tightly, pushed through when you were breaking down, or wondered what might happen if you loosened your grip, this episode is for you. Please join me in welcoming Jackie Cote to the WTF Podcast. Hey, Jackie.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. You're amazing. I love what you got going on here.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so glad. I can't wait to tell this story because I think a lot of our listeners, and myself included, can completely identify with trying to control things, trying to control the outcome. And you and I both know that there is a certain amount of freedom that comes when we let go, when we release, and when we surrender. Let's go ahead and dive a little bit into your story. Tell me a little bit behind the moniker of the I've got it girl. Where did that come from?
So I grew up with a big family, right? And you think big family, lots of support, but I was the baby. And when I was 5, my mom passed, and my dad was somebody who ran his own construction company. And those of us in business, we know that's like a pretty heavy load, but he was also trying to raise 6 kids. And there's a gap in age between the kids. Pretty much. It was like 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, 14 years, 15 years. So me and my younger brother were like solo, and dad was working a lot, and and sisters were already on their own doing their thing, practically high school, college. And so from day one, from 7 years old on, I remember distinctly going, okay, I need to eat. So I'm going to figure out how to cook and make something. When I'd observe, I'm an observer, I needed clean clothes or a towel. So I'd feel like, okay, push the buttons on the machine. And I think I saw them put soap in it, right? And so you'd figure it out. And then it just everything from figure out how was I going to make enough money to go to college, because there was nothing left after 6 kids and 2 stepkids. Eventually, my stepmom came into my life later on. But there was a steep gap of 5 to 7 to 15, where I had to very much be in survival mode of, okay, you want to get here, you got to find a way. You got to go this, you got to buy that. What did you do to figure it out? And that's how the I Got It Girl began. And it was like, don't worry, I got it. And then plus there was the story I created as how we create stories as our younger selves. And the story is, I don't want to be a burden. Dad got enough on his plate. I watched him struggle with my older siblings and business, and then this person, and then creating a relationship with my stepmom. And when it came down to it, like, I didn't want to be a burden. So what did I do? I got it. I'll take care of it myself, and I'll figure it out. And that I am super grateful for. It created a self-sustaining, fiercely independent woman to this day. And what I've discovered over the last few years is that I was living this life, like you mentioned, from this place of control, survival, and fear. And so if we fear internally that we're not going to be able to do something, we come in this place of, if I control it and I take care of it and I got it and hold on so tightly, like it works out. We have a really good life under this way of being.
Sure.
And then slowly I discovered, like you said, well, even before 2024, I started discovering like, I don't have to control so much. I'm not in this alone. That was the number one thing. I thought I was alone. I didn't have anybody to help me. I didn't have a higher power. I didn't even think about higher power or this and that. I got it, girl. Don't open that door for me. I'll carry 3 suitcases on my head. Don't open that door for me. Don't do that. So I realized that there's this place of thriving from a place of surrender, trust, and love that is the new way of being, let's call it that,
Yes.
that I got to let go of that grip.
Yeah. But you spent decades from childhood until just the last couple of years. That was, it sounds like, very core to your identity. I can relate to that a little bit. It's if I wanted to do something or I wanted something that I didn't have or my parents couldn't provide, it was like roll up your sleeves and figure out how to get it done.
Yes.
Okay. So take us to the year where control was no longer an option. Take us back there and tell us a little bit about that.
So I've been coaching in my own business. I've been coaching my whole life since I was like a kid. I've been doing leadership management in the restaurant industry and stuff. And so about 6 years of this business, but I kept going, freedom, time freedom, money freedom, location freedom, and not realizing how much I was still not free inside until this year, 2024, I call it like the year of adversity and so many gifts at the same time, like the duality of both sides. And it was 2023 that I remember trying to call my parents at one point, and my dad and my mom, every Sunday we would talk. And then there was like a couple Sundays I didn't reach them. And I'm like, okay, they must be busy. They always had more of a life than me, joking around. They were like, and they weren't answering. And then I found out from my brother that my stepmom went to the hospital, and my stepmom and my dad, we didn't realize that she was taking care of my dad in a dementia that we didn't realize. He started again having dementia. We didn't realize it because she hid it, because she's the epitome of the I got it girl. Throughout the year, I realized how much, like, I very much learned a lot from her, which is amazing. She gave me so much. But one of the things was that she kept it under control, the whole situation, the relationship, everything, and taking care of my dad. But when she went to the hospital, it cracked everything open. And when I heard this, that like my brothers were taking care of him, I looked at my husband, and we live in Colorado. My family's back in Jersey. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm being called to go. And you do whatever you got to do. And I have the most supportive husband and all my craziness. But what I truly didn't realize until this year was that how much I wouldn't allow him to fully support me and love me until I had to step away from my business, step away from my life here. And I went back, and when I say I didn't have to, I chose to. Let me reiterate that. I chose to do this because I had the opportunity to. So I went and took care of dad for a couple months with dementia in his house before we placed him in what facility he went into eventually. And I thought, girl, that I was like, I got this. I will fix it.
Yes.
Everybody, fix dementia. Those of you listening who have any experience with that, you can fix it. I can fix it. I can do it on my own. I don't need any help. We're going to take care of this. I got it.
Was your stepmom still in the hospital? Yeah. Okay.
And she never came back out of hospital facilities. She was in there for a year. That's a separate story from my father, because, and that's like another part of the year I went back and took care of her. First, I went back and took care of him because we thought she'd come back home.
Sure.
And then that just never happened. And so we came to the decision that we had to place him somewhere for safety reasons. And plus we couldn't full-time take care of him. Like none of us had capacity to. And we shouldn't feel like we have to either. It's a different whole nother episode. But within 48 hours, I realized I was in tears because he was a different person when sundowning. He got after 4:30, we got into this place where he was like screaming and yelling and like a person that he never was. He's a sweet, kind, happy go lucky person like me. Think about me, bald. That's my dad, literally. But when he was this different person, I felt the next day, the first night I was crying and I was like, why, what? And I didn't sleep for 2 months and he only slept 30 minutes at a time. And like all this traumatic stuff was going on in evenings until it finally regulated over about a month. But long story short, I thought I had control of it. And a friend called me and he was like, listen, he goes, I'm going to tell you some things you're not going to like. And one of it is that you can't fix this. And you think you can because you're the I got girl. Because he's someone that like I've known for a long time. He goes, secondly, you think you can do this alone because you're the I got it girl, but you can't. You have to ask for help. The third thing is you think you can do this and you're not meant to do this. This is not your job. Your job is to be his daughter, not his caretaker. And I was like, ugh, because I was trying to go in there as his daughter.
Yeah.
And then I have to be his caretaker and you can't be both. It's impossible in that situation. And so he got real with me. And of course, I did not like this guy. That's my friend at the point. I was like, screw you. I realized at that moment. So from that point on with the caretaking, I was like, I need every 10 days, I need a break. So my brothers would come in and take over a few days. And I went to a hotel. I went to a friend's house. I went to the beach and started to build my self-care program through the duality of this what I was going through. Right. And it was like, I realized like I have to come first or I can't be the best version of what I need to be for the people that I love. So that was like the first, like
Where
I
you
got a
released
girl.
control. Where you released control.
Yes, yeah. But I learned that like I am not in control of this. I cannot be in control of this. And that I
Right.
get to be supported. And that's part of the thriving and trusting and surrendering, is allowing people to support you. As women, we are like so efficient. Like we could do 20,000 things at one time, right? We pull all the files out of our brain, and we're like, we joke around that Meg can pull one file out, but we can pull 10 files out at once and work on them. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's great that we have that ability. It doesn't have to be that way. So that was the first thing. I came home from that trip after we placed him, and I was like, I asked God, universe, can you find a wonderful home for him so he can feel safe and we can be just his kids to come visit him? And we found it at 2 months mark. It was great. Came home, and then we found out my mom was back and forth, and nothing was like there was a lot of challenges between hospitals and facilities. And I looked at my husband, and he was like, okay, he's go back. And I was like, okay. So I went back. Now you could imagine how much guilt and shame I was carrying. You're a business owner, that I couldn't do my business, that I wasn't like fully all in. Like I literally had to close down my membership. I had to do things, and I was crying, and I was like, but I should be able to do it all.
Yes.
And you can't, and you're not meant to be. And so I pulled back from my business. So income started going down in my business.
Sure.
And I started feeling guilt and shame in that. And that carries through the year. And the aha moment was after I went home and took care of my mom for a couple months and really got her settled finally between the hospital and the facilities. There was like no communication. Long story short, we got her settled into a facility. She was in a good place, a better place, not a good place, but a better place. And then so that was about 5 months I've been away from my husband. So I come home to my husband and I give him this big hug because I'm like, you're so supportive. I love you. Now I've made half the income I normally make. Like, I'm so sorry. And he gives me a big hug, and I'm like, you're going to laugh at this one. I start smelling something really good. And I'm like, I'm at his beard height, and I smelled his beard, and I was like, you smell really good. What is that? And he was like, that's beard oil. And I don't know why, but this triggered something in me. It was like, oh my gosh, he is stepping into his own confidence because I let go. He is becoming, and I know that sounds strange, but I had this, like, all this flooded in that, like, I finally let go and surrendered and let this man support me. And so he took charge of things, and he always wanted to, but I wouldn't let him.
Oh,
Because,
yes.
girl, I've been independent financially sins I was 16.
Yes.
I paid for everything myself since I was 16. And I was 50 when this had happened, 49 going on 50.
Yeah.
And finally, this man is, yes, this woman's letting me support her, letting me love her, letting me take care of her and make money and actually be the financial person in the situation versus her having to carry it all on her shoulders. And I don't know why beard oil triggered that, but it was this thing like he would never, I'm like, we can't spend the money. We shouldn't spend the money. We have to, like, I was always very in control of the money and control of the situation. And I just had to let go. Like you said, I had to let go. And that helped him step into who he's always desired to be for me. So I had to surrender and trust to receive the fullest amount of love we've ever had in our relationship.
That's amazing. And I can completely identify with that. The needing to control all of the things because it's what you've always done. But lessening that grip and allowing him to step in to this space so that you could go and be present with your stepmom and your dad is amazing. What was the hardest thing that you had to let go of control of in that season?
This sounds so interesting because most of my friends have the opposite situation. They have men who have the full-time career, the income, they're the stay-at-home moms. I was the different kid, the different one of the group. Like, I didn't do the 2.5 kids picket fence home. I did the let's go travel after college and go check out some of the country and explore and do different things. And then I felt some guilt in my 30s of why am I not settling down? Then I got married, and that relationship was a 5-year, and that moved on. And so I never really had the kids and like the solid thing. So my fierce independence and the financial grasp, like the fear around money, led my life. Like I was like, if I don't control it and solve every problem, who am I? I don't know who I am. I don't know, like, my identity was so wrapped in like solving issues and financially, especially. So that year, it took a lot for me to let go of the reins of money, the reins of control in that. And here's the most interesting part. One of the biggest lessons I learned from being with my mom. I'm watching her and she didn't let go of control until 2 weeks before she passed. She like lived her life, and she passed in November of last year. She lived her life so tightly in control around the money, the relationship, like everything.
Yeah.
And when we were having these deep conversations that she had opened up and finally started crying and opening up to me and different things, because the woman did not cry. She sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. This is me. Like I'm a mirror.
Yes.
And when I realized that I'm letting it go finally, and I learned this finally at 50, 51, she was 86. I was like,
yeah.
People, if you're listening, let go now. Don't wait
Right,
until
right.
you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s. So it was the financial piece. How much I didn't realize that was holding the two of us back from having this pure, loving, trusting relationship. And it didn't come from a place of like, I don't trust you, or I don't like, it came from an overall, I'll lose my identity if I let go of this.
Yeah.
This is all I know.
That's right. So once you did, you really didn't have a choice because you had to pick up and go back to the East Coast to be with family. So once you had come to terms with the release of that control, how did that feel?
I'm going to be honest. It was
Please.
scary
Of
first.
course.
It's not going to be this like, I'm so free. Now I feel that way. Now I feel, but during it, I was like, I remember getting on a call with my bookkeeper who does all my work
Sure.
for my business and stuff. And I was literally like head down. I'm like, get on the Zoom call and I'm like, okay, I know I'll be at half the money. My business is not doing well. Because she's my business bookkeeper, and sure, personal and business, and she's, hold on a second. And this woman's been in business for decades. She goes, how much did your husband make? And I was like, what? Like, why are you asking me that? And I told her, because this is first year was our 5 years of being a nomad, that he had a full-time job. It was the first year that he had full-time income coming in, benefits, all the support, right? And what's funny is that we didn't expect to be here that long. And thank God we became stationary here so that he could have that, so that all of this could happen. So it's because of this happened, because of this. And because of this, I have the freedom I have today because of it. And we have to just always remember that everything's happening for us, even if we don't understand it in the moment. I have to say that out loud first.
Yes. Amen, sister.
So true. I'm sitting there all guilt and shame with her. And she's like, you made this much, he made this much. Do you realize together you made more than you made last year? She goes, but the thing is that not all of it was on your shoulders.
That's right.
And I was like, oh. And that's when I started to feel better about it. Like first there was shame, guilt, there was fear. Like I didn't have the capacity to try to fix any situations, any problem solving. Like I had to let go of all of that identity because I didn't have the capacity. I was just focused on solely caring for my parents.
Yeah.
And then I also cared for my stepdaughter for a couple months too, because she had a surgery she had to get done. So 10 months of that year, I was totally had to surrender. And then when she said that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. This is what the true meaning of surrendering, trusting, allowing yourself to be supported and loved feels like. Yes. And I just happen to tie it a lot to financial because that's my story.
Sure.
And that could be anyone else's, can be insert different story. It's how do you let go of that? And now it's like everything's a conversation, everything's together. We have flipped so much this year from where we were to where we are now because of that year. I don't even know if I can put it into words how special it is.
Yes. I love that. So what surprised you the most as this unraveled? Like you're looking back at beginning of this year and looking back, what realization or what shifted in you that surprised you the most?
I think it's a great question. I think what surprises me the most is how much I needed the adversity that I experienced and how much there was no coincidence that I made the choices I made, that like how everything unraveled, even to the point of I didn't realize I had a childhood wound around my father that once I placed him, I like came home to his house, was the house that they were like the last house they were in. And I started crying, and I was like, why am I crying? And I realized I was crying because it was the first time in 50 years I got alone time with my dad. Being the baby of a man who ran a construction company, had tried to build a relationship with my stepmom for 8 years before they got married, was so busy. Like, it was never just Jackie and dad time. There was never daddy-daughter time. And I got it in dementia. Who knew that, like, in this very adverse container that I would get, like, we would go to the park together and we'd feed the ducks, because during the day he was just a sweetheart. Like, he was amazing during the day. And then eventually at night he calmed down. And then, but I needed that. I needed that wound healed. And I didn't realize I had it. We don't know what we've got inside of us until, like, it's revealed. We have the awareness of it.
Absolutely.
So I thanked God big time for that one. And then my stepmom, same thing. My stepmom she took me around our cafeteria at one point because she was wheelchair bound, and she said, let's go to lunch. So I wheeled her into that thing, and she's, everybody, because my dad's brain was going, his body was great. My mom's brain was fine, her body was going. So I was dealing with both scenarios for this year, back and forth. We had both. I don't know which one's worse. And so everybody meet my stepdaughter, because it was a new facility we got her into. And I was like, hi. And you need to know her. She has her own business. She makes good money. She's independent. And she's rattling. I never heard these words. Like, I knew they loved me, but I never heard these kind of words from my parents, because we weren't that huggy, lovey kind of family, right?
Yeah.
But I knew they were proud of me. I knew all that stuff. But to hear it,
amazing.
Childhood wound number 2.
Yes.
So I got that. So I think the surprise for me is, I get the whole concept. I can logically understand that we learn so much through the adversity of life. Logically, I know that. But to embody that and to see the gifts in the moment of the hard time, also see the joy that we get to have both at the same time. We don't have to have the crying and this and that and not feel the joy of the moment at the same time. Like, we get to have both.
How do you approach, like, control and that type of thing now? Because, like, I would think we're more cognizant of when we are trying to hold on to the how or the when or the things that we're trying to control.
Right.
It doesn't just go away because we're human, but how do you approach control now?
So we all have these I picture the red light on top of a car, like
Absolutely. Yes.
Like, that legitimately is the visual that I get when I feel like I'm trying to grasp too tightly to something.
Sure.
And I feel it through resistance. Like, when I feel resistance in something, that, like, whether it's a resistance in, you put out a program, you want to sell it, and it's not selling as well. So you're like, you start overanalyzing the results. And instead of having fun on the front end of, like, actually embodying and loving and enjoying and selling the program, like, you're like, I got to fix the control because the results are. And so, Jackie, trust, surrender, enjoy the front end process, life today. I go through all. So I, like, literally have to be like, okay, like, especially with my husband, if I feel myself getting into this has happened less and less. But if I get into this zone of fear around money, and then it's like, you could feel it. Like, I used to do this thing. He would be like, I'm a dreamer. I talk about visioning and I help people vision and build these big visions and all this other stuff. But my husband would come to me. We've only been married for a couple of years, but we've been together 10. And he'd be like, oh, I saw this thing today. It's like a storage unit for sale. Do you know you make the most profit on storage units? And I'm like, yeah, where's the money going to come from? That was my response to him over and over for years. And I'd shut it down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's part of the control, right?
Yes.
How are we going to figure it out? It's all going to be on my back again. I'm going to have to make all the money.
Yeah.
And so now when I go to have that, like, old self kind of creeps in to respond, I go, pause. I do this thing called PAR. I pause, I assess, I respond instead of react, because the pausing and the assessing helps you respond instead of react to them and shut them down. And then I receive what the gift is in the moment, and I release what doesn't serve me in everything that I do. So that PAR really helps me, like, pause. And then now I'm like, yeah, honey, that's amazing. Now we, like, put it on the list. Let's put it on the list. Let's put it on the list. Where money needs a place to go. Let's put it on the list.
I love it. We're the what and the why, not the how and the when. So it goes on the list.
Yes.
I love that. Yes, I love that. Okay. For the woman who is listening, who is gripping everything out of fear, habit, or responsibility, What do you want her to know?
That she is safe to let go. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe if I didn't stay. And I saw it in my mom in the last few months. Whew. She still didn't feel safe to let go till the end. And she finally did. Oh, please. And to know that love, safety, and belonging, we have to find within first. Like, we have to hold that within ourselves first before we can give that to others. I'm not saying we can't be in a progress of working on that and finding that ourselves while someone else, like my husband and I, my gosh, did we like work through all of it in the 10 years we've been together, and we're still standing. But it's scary to let go when you feel like you're somebody you get to redefine the identity. You get to be supported. You get to be held. You get to trust and surrender. And boy, 4 years of this business, I would preach it. I didn't embody it. I can tell you that now. Like I was learning it still. I was still like grasping the full, but to your point, I had no choice that year. Like, I had choice, but in the choices I made, I had to let go.
Yes.
So it was my way of God, universe going, now you're going to know. Now you're going to get it. Like, we're here. We got you. You just have to trust. And that was the year to show me.
I love that. Jackie, thank you so much. Hey, you guys, if this conversation spoke to you, if you saw pieces of yourself in Jackie's story, or you felt that little nudge around the places that you're gripping too tightly still, I would love for you to share this episode with somebody who might need it too. These stories ripple farther than we realize. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.